Good evening, everyone. My name is Harry, and this is Spurs TV. And tonight, I'm going to give you some different content from the normal about just transfers and Tottenham. And I'm going to start a new segment right now on my channel. It's called How I Became Spurs. Now, my first guest tonight is actually going to be my dad. And we're going to talk about how he became a Spurs fan, his favourite players, what he thinks is going to happen in the future, and that sort of thing. So I'm going to just introduce my dad now. And here we go. Hello, Baba. You all right?
Hi, Harry.
Just so you know, you're live on YouTube.
Okay, good to
And
see
you're
you.
live on,
Good to
yeah,
see
you're
you.
live on the internet.
All right.
So how's it going today?
Sorry?
How are you?
Yes, I'm very well. Thank you very much. I just had my dinner very quickly. And a
Okay.
glass of wine.
So we'll just get straight into it. So how did you become a Spurs fan?
It goes back a long, long way. When I was in Greece, I was working in Greece in the late 60s. My boss took me to a football match, a friendly, I think it was, between a Greek team and Tottenham. And Spurs won 5-0. So I saw some players there. I think it was Mike England, the defender, Jimmy Greaves. So I said, oh, wow, what a team this is. So when I came to London in 1970 to work, I lived in an area called Tempak Lane, which is quite close to Tottenham. So I asked some of my friends, where is this team Tottenham? They said to me, quite close. So I was like, okay, I want to go and see them. And that's how I started watching them in England.
But what would you say, what attracted you to supporting Tottenham compared to, say, another English team?
First of all, the game in Greece,
Yeah.
number one. The skill of the players, the flow of the game, the colors of the team, white.
Oh,
Because I hate red colors.
Okay.
So white.
Okay.
And also it was very close here. Some of my friends were also Tottenham supporters, and we used to go together to the games. And that's how I started.
But as in the sense of, is it because you saw them in Greece? Is that why, or because you must have seen other English teams play before?
No,
that?
I didn't. No,
Did you not?
it was
Okay.
the first English team I saw playing live.
But was there a certain player which attracted you to the club? Because a lot of fans start supporting Tottenham because of, say, for example, Gareth Bale or a US player if they're in the USA or something like that. Is there a certain player that attracted you to Tottenham?
The only player I knew at the time was Jimmy Greaves.
Yeah.
The fame of Jimmy Greaves. Also, I knew after I asked my friends that Tottenham is one of the top teams in England, and I always like to watch a team to actually watch it, not be in London and be a Manchester United fan, for example, or a Liverpool fan. I wanted to go and see the game and live the atmosphere, the actual game.
But when you bring that point across, I'm going to say, doesn't it mean you could have supported another London club?
I could
potentially.
Theoretically, yes. Theoretically, I could, yes.
But is it because you saw Tottenham in Greece that you thought, oh?
Yes, I saw them in Greece. I like the style of the game. I like the colors.
Yeah.
The shirts, the white is something I like. And also my friends, at least 4 or 5 friends were Tottenham supporters.
Mm-hmm.
And we started from there.
So when you came to England, do you remember your first game at the old White Hart Lane at all, or not?
I don't remember, no.
Oh, no.
I don't remember the first game, no. But I started watching them regularly whenever I could find tickets until, let's say, 1977, 78, Tottenham dropped to the second division because at the time we didn't have the Premiership. We had first division, second division, third division. So I think Tottenham finished bottom of the league, and we dropped down to the second division. So I said to my boss then in London, who was very wealthy, I said, why don't we buy some season tickets now that the team dropped to the second division? It was an opportunity.
They'll be cheaper, or?
No, not the question of money. It was a question of getting the season tickets, and also the location on the ground. So I bought 6 season tickets, right almost on the center, in the West End, which we kept for since then, really, until the new stadium. So I started watching them very, very regularly. After that, they came up 78.
So, do you remember your first season at White Hart Lane then? Who the team was, who the manager was?
I remember the first season, yes. We didn't do very well the first season.
Yeah.
By the way,
Yeah.
78, we signed Ardiles and
Ricky
Gilia.
Villa.
Gilia. They were the first two, I think, the first two foreign players, good players, excellent players, who played in the World Cup. Argentina won the World Cup on that year, 78, and they moved to England. And I think it was Birkinshaw, the manager.
Keith Birkinshaw.
Keith Birkinshaw, yes.
Yeah.
So I remember the season very well. And then it was 79, 80, and so on. Birkinshaw was there for 5 years, I think, or so.
So, do you ever have a favorite manager or a favorite player?
Well, it's very difficult to say because Spurs had always very good players. For example, in early 70s or late 60s, let's say, 70, 71, they had Martin Chivers, Martin Peters, Alan Mallory was like the governor on the field.
Yeah.
Alan Gizin, who else? Knowles, Bill. These are the good players at the time, early 70s.
Yeah.
And then followed by Ardiles and many other players.
Hoddle.
Hoddle. Later on, of course, Kane. But going back, I think my most favorite player was, I could say, Ossie Ardiles.
Ossie Ardiles.
Yes.
But why was he your favorite player? What did he have that other players
he was
didn't have?
Very, 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 very skillful player.
Mm.
He had the experience of the World Cup. He was a very humble person. In fact, I met him twice personally, and I traveled with him once. And he was a very humble person, a family person, very emotional on the field, very well educated, and I like him. He settled in England. He loved his country, like me. Yeah. He settled here. His family is here. So I love him. Very, very nice person as well.
Was that?
That doesn't mean that I don't like other players, eh?
Yeah.
Harry Kane is a fantastic player.
Do you think he's the best player we've had in about 20, 30 years or something? Or
in that position, yes.
As a striker, you think?
No, Ardiles was not a striker. He was a midfielder.
No, as in Harry Kane. I'm asking about
Harry Kane. Yes. Harry Kane, for me, from the players I saw, excluding Jimmy Greaves, I think Harry Kane is the best player. Yes.
Is the best.
Yes.
So better than Berbatov and Defoe.
Better. He's a fighter. Defoe was a good player.
Yeah.
But Harry Kane is something more exceptional, if you like. It's an exceptional player. He's dropping back into the midfield. He's passing. He's turning. He's goal scoring. Everything. He's a fantastic player to have.
So, what are your thoughts on, for example? Sorry, that's not the right word thing. So, what did you think, for example, in terms of managers? Was there a manager you ever didn't like at all? And was there a manager you ever thought, he's my favorite manager at Spurs ever?
Manager I didn't like at all was Neil.
Terry Neal, you mean Terry Neal?
Terry Neal, yes.
Yeah.
Terry Neal, I would say. And second, it was Christian Kroos.
Yeah, I heard about
Christian
Christian
Gross.
Gross. Yeah,
I think he was there for a year.
yeah,
I didn't like his style. But Spurs passed some difficult times,
yeah.
especially in between 90 and 1990 until 2000 and something, for 10,
Hmm.
12 years. We're always in the middle or bottom bottom half of the league.
Hmm.
But the ones I like, of course, is Pochettino was a very good manager. Harry Redknapp,
Yeah,
good
fair
manager.
enough. Yeah,
And of course, Conte now.
no. But what was it about, for example, someone like Pochettino that you liked a lot compared to someone like Christian Gross who you didn't like
Well,
at all?
Pochettino, of course, was a good manager because the results. For example, you
Yeah,
look at
yeah.
his season, he stayed in Spurs what 5 years,
Mm,
and he finished second, third, fourth, and I think in 1 year fifth.
mm,
So as far as the results are concerned, he has been the best managers for the last 50 years almost, from 1970 until
mm.
today. He has the best results. Spurs finish always in the top 4 or 5, let's say, and second, third, fourth, five.
But also, was it his style of play as well?
The style of play was good, but as far as style of play, I like Redknapp.
Yeah,
Redknapp was telling everybody to attack,
yeah,
as you know.
yeah.
His style of play was a pleasure to watch,
Mm,
and the results were not bad. They were very good results.
mm,
And I was very disappointed when he was sacked, actually.
yeah,
Of course, he was sacked for other reasons,
yeah,
not football
yeah.
reasons, but anyway, unfortunately. And the team was doing brilliantly at the time. And he also had some good players.
So when you talk about people like Ricky Villa, Ozzy Ardiles, Glenn Hoddle,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
do you look back on that Spurs side, for example, and say those were like my favorite memories supporting the club back in the 80s or the 70s? Like, do you look back fondly to those years compared to now when we have a different sort of era of football where, for example, everything is very commercialized? Back in the 70s and 80s, football was very different. Do you think football back then was better or better now?
It's very difficult to say because
Yeah,
by nature, when we look back,
yeah,
when we look into memories,
yeah,
we think those memories are better.
yeah.
So the way we're playing today, for example,
Mm,
you don't realize how good the team is and the
mm,
results are good this year, for example, that we just
yeah,
finished. We shall see this after 10 years, 15, 20 years. When we look back after so many years, we say, the team which Conte had at the time was a
yeah.
fantastic team. Now, perhaps we don't appreciate it. This is
Mm,
the nature of people, our nature, human
yeah,
nature.
yeah.
Of course, looking back, there are, for example, I remember in Berkenshaw had some difficult times
Hmm.
and had 1 or 2 seasons, brilliant seasons. Uh, David Plitt,
Yeah.
David Plitt was in 85, 86, 87. Again, unfortunately, he left for other reasons,
Mm,
but the team was a brilliant team, very flowing and attacking football and beautiful to watch. And later on, of course, we said we had Redknapp, Pochettino also.
mm.
His team was always very good teams, professional teams. Unfortunately, like many other teams, of course, Tottenham had some 3 or 4 or 5 really good players,
Mm.
quality-wise. But the rest were, let's say, average players.
Uh,
And that's how and why Spurs always finish in the middle of the table or fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and so on. If we had another 2 or 3 players,
yeah.
like the good ones, like Ardiles, Waddle, Sheringham, don't forget
Yeah.
Sheringham,
Teddy Sheringham. Yeah.
Nishman, Klinsmann, for example.
Yeah.
We would have done better, much better.
Yeah.
Our left wing, especially the left back,
Yeah.
for 50 years, I don't remember to have a brilliant player there. Shooter was a good player. Not exceptional. He was a good fighter. He loved Tottenham. He was working really hard. But we always had a problem in that position since until today. Even today, we have a problem there.
Yeah, we do.
On the right back again, we had Stephen Carr, and then later on Walker. But after that,
Yeah.
Trippier was a good player, I must say.
Yeah.
Trippier. But generally speaking, we had difficulties there. Up front, we had some fantastic players. And middle, I would say, in the midfield, Waddle, Ardiles. Certain backs we had, I would say, very good, excellent center back.
Yeah.
If you go back to early 80s, for example,
Yeah.
then you see later on Ledley King, fantastic player, defender. That's an area we need to improve now, I think.
The defense.
The defense. We need the defense. Definitely. The defense needs to be improved. Getting a right back, left back, or wing backs, as you call them. At least one center back to fix the defense. Goalkeepers, we have been very lucky. We had Pat Jennings. Ray Clemens was a very good goalkeeper also. An England goalkeeper, very good player. And then Lloris, I think. These are the top, for me, top three goalkeepers we had.
So you spoke about Carl Walker and Danny Rose and Stephen Carr. Now, I do remember Stephen Carr when I was younger. Not very well, though. But
he scored against Manchester United.
Yeah. What was so special about Stephen Carr that made him a lot better than the other right backs before him? Because obviously we had Carl Walker further later on. But what was so special about Stephen Carr?
His crossing was good. He was fast, not as fast as Walker, but he was fast. He was able to run forward and back for defense, which is something you need from the modern players these days. And unfortunately, we missed that. We missed the pace in that position and the crossing. When you have, for example, Kane and let's say Sheringham up front, and they need these crosses, where do we get them from? At the moment, this is the problem.
But you also mentioned the left back with Danny Rose. Now, you said before Danny Rose, you didn't see a good left back at Tottenham for about 2030.
No, in the early 70s, was somebody called, I think, Knowles. He was a good player. And after that, you have Danny Rose. And then what? We have Houghton for many years. He was a very stable person. But, of course, nothing exceptional. And don't forget, in the old days, most of the teams were playing 4-4-2, 4-4-2.
Yeah.
Most of them, I would say 9 out of 10 were 4-4-2. So really, the fullbacks didn't need to go forward too much like these days. We didn't have the wingbacks. So they were not operating as wingbacks. They used to go forward, but not the same way.
So, for example, with Danny Rose, what made him so obviously, I'm a massive fan of Danny Rose, and I always was. But what made him so special to you compared to someone like Eric Edmond or something, or Tarico? I'm just thinking of left backs off the top of my head. But
he was relatively fast and skillful and fighter.
Yeah.
He used to give 1 or 2 penalties away occasionally.
Yeah.
But that's part of the game.
But also you spoke about players like Ricky Villa, Ozzy Diaz. When I look back when I was growing up, the only player I remember being so good for Tottenham back in, say, the 90s and late in the 2000s was David Ginola.
Yes.
Now, do you think back when Spurs were going through this 20-year period, was it 20-year period you mentioned?
The bad
Where
period.
mid-table? Yeah.
90 to 2000 and something.
Yeah. So during that period, were there any players apart from, say, Ginola, who stood out for you at all?
I don't remember. Because I saw maybe 200, 300
Yeah,
players.
we weren't very good. This is what I'm
Yeah,
asking.
yeah.
So,
No, Ginola was also a fantastic player, very good.
mm,
Bale, don't forget Bale, but it was later years, of course.
yeah,
I can look back and see.
yeah.
In the 90s, I don't remember. 1990.
Like Les Ferdinand, was he any good?
No. There was a player, you don't want to hear the name, eh?
Yeah.
He was a traitor later
Yeah,
on.
yeah, the Judas. Yeah,
Judas.
yeah,
Campbell was a good defender.
yeah,
Yes. So really, if he stayed at Tottenham,
yeah.
and I had to put a team together, the two central defenders today,
Would include.
it would be him and King,
Yeah,
Little King, those two.
but
Very good players.
do you? Okay, so
But
do you remember?
I remember Gascoigne, Paul Gascoigne.
Gascoigne? Yes, I was thinking of Gascoigne. Yeah.
But unfortunately, Paul Gascoigne stayed, I think, 2 or 3 years, maybe not even 2 years, and then he was sold to Lazio.
But how do you remember him as a player? Was he crazy? Was he?
Well, crazy. On the field, he was a passionate player, really passionate, very skillful. He used to control the midfield. His passing was exceptional. Exceptional. He was a fantastic player.
But for example, with someone like Sol Campbell, who left Tottenham, do you remember the atmosphere? Because I've seen the video myself of when he came back to Tottenham. What was it like?
Yeah, it was very, very extremely hostile.
Yeah, but as obviously, of course, I was just growing up and I wasn't aware of what was going on. Did you think he was going to go, or did you feel that he was going to stay or go to a foreign club, or did it ever cross your mind that he was going to go to Arsenal?
For me, it was very strange and very sudden, I think.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was traveling a lot, so I wasn't in England all the time. So I don't remember very much the details of the transfer.
Yeah.
But it was very sudden. When I heard it, it was very sudden to me.
Yeah.
I don't know when he left. I don't remember. No.
Yeah. But as in, because I remember seeing a video, also I didn't go to the game, of all the Spurs fans holding placards and things saying Judas, Judas, and they booed him when he walked out to White Hart Lane.
Yes.
I was wondering if you remember the game.
I don't remember, Harry. I don't remember, no.
But was there any specific games that always, when you think about Tottenham, that come into your head? For example, you always talk to me about the Anderlecht game.
The Anderlecht game, was, for me, it was at the time, it was 81 or 82.
Yeah.
At the time, we had 6 season tickets, but unfortunately, we couldn't use those tickets during European Cup games. So I had to buy other tickets, and I bought some tickets behind the goal in the south stand during that game.
Yeah.
And I remember the ball came to me, it was a goal kick, effectively.
Yeah.
And suddenly I see the ball coming. So I took the ball.
Yeah.
And we're losing, I think, 1-0. So I threw the ball straight away onto the ground.
Yeah.
The goalkeeper kicked it. I think it was, forget the name of the goalkeeper. Parks. I think Parks.
Tony Parks?
Tony Parks, I think, yes.
Yeah.
He kicked the ball, we attacked, and we scored. And then we went to extra time and to penalties, and we won the game. That was the
UEFA Cup final, wasn't it?
Cup final, yes, correct.
So, for example,
I remember. I don't remember the details because it's been so many years, but it was, for me, it was one of the very, very good games. And you can compare that with the most recent games we had.
Yeah.
Against City, for example.
Yeah.
Or Leicester. This season, I mean. These are games will remain in memories, yes, in years to come.
But was there ever a player that you thought left Tottenham too early, and that you didn't want to leave?
Gascoigne, for example.
Gascoigne, for example.
Yes. Campbell.
Yeah.
Left
No,
early.
but as in players, not players that left because they wanted to leave, but players
Mm.
that the club sold that you thought, why are we selling this player? He's a very good player. Is there ever a
No,
player you can think of?
Gascoigne we sold. Gascoigne we sold.
Yeah.
They were offered, I don't remember what money at the time, maybe
Yeah.
8 million or something, which was a lot of money, and they sold him. Later on, of course, we sold, as you know, Walker and
Yeah.
Bale and Modric.
Yeah.
Modric is another player worth mentioning. Fantastic
Yeah.
player.
But as in the sense of not the players that wanted to leave, but for example, we had a player who wanted to stay,
Yes.
but we sold him because the club wanted him to go, not because he wanted to go. Is there ever a player that you thought of that we shouldn't have sold because he could have become very good?
But you cannot find out, Harry. If the player really wanted to stay and the club sold him, or whether it was combination by consent, you don't know.
Did you ever have a player you've never really liked at all?
Yes.
Like the most, you dislike the most?
There are a few, but I think the most maybe Raziak or something.
You're right. Yes, the striker.
Gregory Raziak, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I think we bought him from Southampton, or I don't remember.
Derby, I think it was.
Derby. Raziak, anyway. Raziak. Raziak, yes. He didn't last long, but why we bought him, I don't know. It's a mystery to me.
But because you always talk to me about how you like players who like to take on players and who
I
are
like
fast.
skillful players who can dribble the ball, yes.
Because Razak, I
like
remember.
Lennon, Bale, Ginola, Ardiles, Waddle, all these players. Son these days, fantastic player. Son, don't forget Son. Son is one of my, if I had to put a team together from 1970 something until today, Son will be in that position. Unless if I have Bale at his prime.
Yeah.
Because of the speed, especially Bale, because of his speed.
So, for example, with Bale, why do you think when he came back it didn't work out?
Well, I think age, confidence, injuries, a number of factors. So he did, you could say, relatively well, but not fantastically well.
Yeah.
When he came, I think I told you, I didn't expect too many things.
Yeah.
Because of his lack of games in Spain. He was a bit rusty. His confidence was very, very low. Maybe he had also personal problems. I don't know.
But for example, with Bale, there was such a huge media frenzy when he came back because it was such a big thing. And there are rumors now that it's possible that he might come back again because he's gone a free transfer. Would you want him to come back or not?
Yeah, but let's say he's a nice person, also very humble person.
Yeah.
But if he comes, what he's going to do? What position is he going to play?
Because we have five sub rule next year, so
well, play him for 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
At the end,
half an hour.
Yeah.
It's always good to have him, of course. But of course, we need for the future. We are planning for the future for the next 5 years. You need other players.
So in this current Spurs side, who is your favorite player?
Kane.
And why?
Because of his scoring, his ability, his work rate, his turning, his dribbling, his shooting, his headers, everything. Is what you need. We can describe every good striker, exceptional striker. And for me, he's one of the best in the world at the moment, yes.
Is there any players that you dislike the most and why?
Now in the team now?
Yeah.
Well, perhaps not fair to say.
No, you can't say it's not. Yeah. They're probably not watching.
No, not hate.
Yeah. I didn't say hate. I said dislike. So.
Yes. The two.
Yeah.
Davis.
Yeah.
Not because he's a bad player. He's a good player. He's a fighter. He loves the team. He plays. But I don't like always he's passing backwards, always backwards. 9 out of 10 passes is to the goalkeeper, to the other defenders.
Yeah.
One of his passes to go forward. I don't like that. Also, he's too left-footed. He cannot use his right foot. And that sometimes is costing the team. Now we have Sessignon in the left back position. Again, he's doing the same thing. He is not using his right foot, always left foot. He cannot run on the outside, take on players. I think he's lacking confidence. I don't know what's happening. Let's hope next season he improves. Otherwise, he has to go and get somebody else.
Yeah. Now, thinking about some players that you really wanted us to sign in the past, and then we signed them, and they didn't turn out to be very good. Can you think of anyone where?
You see, before we sign players, we all read in the newspapers, in the media these days.
Yeah.
And the media built up the names, the reputation of players. But unfortunately, by reading this in the newspapers or other media, we get the impression that this player is a fantastic player. We don't see him ourselves. We didn't see him. We don't have a personal feeling, let's say. So we are influenced, in other words, by the media. So for me, I need to see a player playing in other teams to judge whether he's good in any way to bring into Tottenham. For example, if you ask me what midfielder to buy now,
Yeah, what midfielder who would you sign?
From UK,
Yeah.
The Leeds midfielder, Phillips.
Calvin Phillips.
Yes. For me, he's a very, very good player for Tottenham, in the middle there, together with the other two. Bentancur, Højbjerg, and Phillips, for example. Left back. We need a left back. And unfortunately, there are not many left backs, even in the other teams in England.
Yeah.
Who is a good left back? I don't know in England.
Yeah.
Which we can buy. Right back. You have the Brighton. You have the Brighton left back. Yes, he's a good player. And the right back is a good player of Brighton. But can you buy them? They're both good players. They are much, much better than what we have in those positions at the moment.
So, going forward, what do you think is going to happen with us in terms of under Conte? Do you think we're going to improve next season? Do you think we have a chance to win the title, or do you think?
Well, first of all, I have every confidence in Conte. I think he's a fantastic manager. He's an excellent, excellent manager. Probably the best manager we had after Nicholson, probably. He took the team, you remember, last year. We're not playing, we're not creating chances, nothing. And suddenly, we finished with 20 goal difference above Arsenal overall, for example. So under Conte, I have every confidence. If he can get 4 or 5 players or 6 players, yes, why not? Go for the Premiership. Why not compete? The manager is there, the ground is there, the support is there. Spurs has fantastic supporters. You have 60,000 supporters every game. What more do you want? So you have some better players than we have, better quality players. Why not? Definitely, why not?
So what do you think, for example, of bringing back someone like Christian Eriksen? Because right now there's a massive debate as to whether we should bring him back or not.
Eriksen can play in the team, depending, of course, how the team plays. If he's going to use the same system or change it a little bit. Because as we are at the moment, how can you play Eriksen only in front of the two holding defenders, Højbjerg and Bentancur, perhaps in front, and play with 2 up front, maybe Son and Kane, for example. He's not a winger, Ericsson, as such. He's dropping back because of age, because of other reasons. You can still use him a lot, yes, by changing the system. If it doesn't work how he plays now, change it a little bit, bring Ericsson on, or one or two other players, and try to win games. Why not? He's still a very, very good player, a very good passer of the ball. He can create chances out of nothing. He can score goals from free kicks, one of the best in the Premiership. Why not? But he's not a player you can depend for the next 5 years.
Yeah, it's true. So we signed Perisic the other day. Were you happy?
Yes,
that
I
we
was
got
happy.
him?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Age is important, but
Yeah.
you are not paying a fortune to get him.
Mm.
I think we got him on the free. I think.
Yeah, free transfer.
Right.
Yeah.
So all the teams, they have a budget and they try to accommodate their spending, whether it's by way of fees or salaries or other expenses, within the budget. These days, the clubs run like companies, limited companies. Spurs is the same way. You cannot spend 200, 300 million and go bankrupt the next day, and have all the problems like other teams. So Spurs is running, and a lot of people try to blame Daniel Levy for not spending money, but I think this is true to a certain extent. You need to spend money, yes, but not go crazy and spend money on players which sometimes not worth it. You spend 50, 60 million, take Manchester United, no Pogba. It cost them 200 million. I was reading yesterday or today. It cost them $1 million for every game he played. This is not business. Football clubs are, of course, for entertainment of the fans. It's the passion of the fans, many millions of people and so on. But at the same time, there must be some commercial element into the clubs. You cannot go through borrowing and borrowing many millions or billions of pounds just to buy good players. So we need to buy players, yes. And by giving 150 million now, for example, plus or what you can get from, say, players, we are going to sell, let's say another 100, 150 million. So Conte will have there between 250 and more, perhaps, million to spend on good players. And why not? The team should be really in a better position than what we are today, definitely. So I'm very hopeful, in other words.
Okay. So are there any players with that in mind that you remember we spent a lot of money on that was wasted?
Well, we spend money on the Dembele, for example.
Yeah.
Lo Celso, another one. Sanchez, we spent, what, 40, 50 million, I think?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
40
is he
million.
worth it? And obviously, we all make mistakes. I make mistakes. You make mistakes. Everybody. The managers make mistakes. The directors make mistakes, of course. But what you should do is try to minimize those mistakes. From the 6 players you buy, if the 5 are good, they're worth the money you paid, that's success. The other one, if you fail, doesn't matter. Because you are bound to make a mistake. So I mentioned 2 players, which we bought 3 players. We bought what, 2 or 3 years ago?
Do you mean Sessegnon, Lo Celso, and Ndombele? Do you mean them?
No, Sanchez also. Sanchez.
Yeah, Sanchez. But how about, for example, someone like Darren Bent?
Darren Bent again, but Darren Bent, we didn't pay a lot of money, and we
paid
got the money
16
back.
million, I think.
I think we got all the money back from Darren Bent.
Did we? I don't know.
I think so. Yes, I think we got 17 million or something. 17, 15.
Yeah, we bought him for 16 million, I think.
Yeah, we got the money back then.
But for example, someone like Lamela, I mean.
But Lamela, how much did we pay for Lamela?
30 million.
30? It was a lot of money.
Yeah.
It was one of those mistakes.
Yeah.
It was a mistake, yes, one of those mistakes.
So do you have faith now in the future they'll make a lot less mistakes than before because Conte and
I think so. I think so. I believe so because we all learn from our mistakes, and Levy has learned from his mistakes.
and you think he's learned from his mistakes? Okay.
He should learn from his mistakes. Yes, and the managers and the recruiters should learn from the mistakes. And money has value. So it's very important for the club. So we cannot throw it away. So they should wash players once, twice, 3 times, 10 times before they buy them to make sure really that they are buying because of the quality they saw, not what they read in the newspapers or in the media. Because that's what the problem is. Some of the teams they buy players because of the papers, the newspaper. Oh, this is a fantastic player, this and this and this and this. And they spend the money they buy. Take Pogba, for example. They paid 90 million
Mm.
and he's living out for free. How many? He cost $1 million a game. 1
Yeah.
million. Can you imagine this? 1 million. Working people, do not make 1 million in their lifetime. And they spend 1 million on one game.
For one match.
For one match, for one game, yes. On one player.
Okay, so now now the
criminal.
transfer. Yeah. So now the transfer window has opened. Is there one player, if you could pick one player in the world, it kind of has to be realistic, that you would sign for Tottenham?
Yes.
Because you can't say Messi, Ronaldo, or
Mbappe.
Haaland, or Mbappe. That you would sign right now. Who would you pick?
Yes. Lewandowski.
Yes. He's on a free transfer, isn't he? I think.
To partner Kane up front.
Lewandowski. Okay.
Yes, and play with the two up front.
Okay.
You have 2 wing backs to cross the ball. And then you see 10 goals
Headers.
in the game. Headers, yes.
Yeah. How is Lewandowski? I think he's 34 now, isn't he?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Use him for 2 years. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. So you told me before that you had your favorite ever Spurs side. Do you want to show everyone what it looks like?
Yes, I meant. Well, there are many sides you can do.
Yeah.
These are only 2 examples, if you like. I can read you, or I don't know. Can you see?
Put it more to the top. Higher. Yeah, that's fine. So Pat Jennings, Carl Walker, Judas, Ledley King, Danny Rose, Ozzy Diaz, Steve Perryman, Luka Modric, Gareth Bale, Harry Kane, and Son. Okay.
And the other one?
Lloris, Gary Stevens, Ledley King, Alan Murray, Judas, Stephen Carr, Glenn Hoddle, Ozzy Diaz, Gareth Bale, Harry Kane, and Teddy Sheringham.
Yes.
Okay.
Can you imagine Teddy Sheringham and Kane up front?
Yeah.
With the 2 wing backs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bale and Walker, or Bale and as wing back.
Yeah. So what was it, for example, for someone like Gary Stevens and Alan Murray that made you think they were so good?
Unfortunately, he was a very skillful player, but I think he got injured very early and he retired. Very unfortunate. He was a very skillful player for a defender, holding midfielder or a defender. So Alan Murray was a fighter. He was a killer.
Was he like?
He would destroy. Yes.
Was he like Parker and Sandro or Makalele?
Better.
Oh. I'd have Mabbutt in defence. Oh, Gary Mabbutt.
Mabbutt?
Yeah.
Mabbutt not in defence. Mabbutt is holding midfielder. Yes.
Oh.
Yes, holding midfielder. Yes.
Yeah. So, for example, Steve Perryman. What was so good about him?
Also a fighter. I mean, Perryman was not. You cannot say he was a very skillful player, but he was a fighter, running for 90 minutes or 120 minutes, up and down the field, stopping the other team attacking, taking the ball and passing it. He was not able to dribble and pass the ball for, opening opportunities. He was not a type of player, but he was able to stop the other team attacking, which was equally important. Like Gary Mabbutt. Gary Mabbutt was also a similar player, succeeding Steve Perryman in that position.
So just before we finish, I just want to ask you two things.
Yes.
So what do you predict? Where do you predict? Sorry, that will finish next season. And do you think Conte will stay as well?
Stay for this season or for the future?
No, for the future.
If he's back up now, if we
Yeah.
back financially and we buy players, I don't see the reason why he should leave for the next 3 years, let's say. And if we are doing well, and we should do well, then he will leave only after he achieves the top. In other words,
The
winning
title.
the title. Yes.
So do you think next season we're going to win the title or going to win a cup?
If we
Or
buy,
do you think?
it's difficult to say. It's difficult
Yeah.
to say. But if we buy, as we said, 4 or 5 good players, yes, why not? We should be able to compete instead of being 13, 14 points behind the leaders, to be 1 or 2 points if we miss behind. Really competing.
And finally, do you have a favorite ever match, Spurs match that you went to? It could be for any reason at all. Do you have a favorite ever match that you went to, and why?
I think the Champions League.
Which game?
The Champions League, Inter against Inter.
Bale with the.
Yes, exactly. Yes, that game. Yes.
Yeah. Because Gareth Bale was so good, wasn't he, that game?
He was so good, exactly. Yes, he was fantastic, especially in that game. Yes.
Like for me, I would probably say it was the Danny Rose goal in the 2-1 the season before. When we beat Arsenal for the first time in 10 years or 12 years, however long it was.
Yeah, Danny Rose was a fantastic player, but he left for other reasons.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this is life. This something happens in all the teams, unfortunately.
Okay, so before I end the stream, just want to say, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Okay, and bye, everyone.
See you, Harry.
See you.
Okay.